Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our debate. The motion for debate today is native speaker of English teachers cause effective teaching don't they? And on my left side, acting as proposition team for this debate, native speaker of English teacher cause effective teaching more than non-native teachers. With me, Ms. Pisni Yaudam as the first speaker.
Miss Penapa Pramansin as second speaker.
Miss Abhisamai Chantramat as the third speaker.
And me, Nithidara Dingel, proposition reply.
Then, on my right side, acting as opposition team for this debate, non-native speakers of English teachers cause effective teaching more than native teacher.
Miss Kochakon Sukswat as the first speaker.
I am Miss Supawati Thaigut as the second speaker.
Miss Busakarin Charupantu as the third speaker.
And the reply speaker will be delivered by Ms. Ramida Yiwangcharan.
Then I would like to tell the regulation of the debating competition. In this debate, each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak, and if you're taking time more than 3 minutes, the timekeeper will mute your microphone. Please follow the time rules to avoid this debate overrun. But before we come to our actual argumentation, let us first define some important terms in this debate. From Macmillan Dictionary, native speaker means someone who has learned a particular language from the time that they began to speak. And non-native speaker means someone who is learning a language they did not learn to speak as a child. Let's start now. Ms. Pisni as the first speaker from proposition team, please welcome. I am the first speaker. According to Kaju three-circle model, based on the type of colonization that each country has within the British Empire and American colonization. As I study world English subject, the three-circle model is influential and well recognized because it has the advantage of graphically presenting the pluralism and diversity of English. The inner circle refers to countries that were settled by British people. Traditional base of English, the regions where it is the primary language, said by Kaju, 1985. In other words, people in the inner circle be considered a native speaker. Next, let's talk about standard English. From website theschoolrun.com has said, standard English is accepted as the correct form of English. Used in formal speaking or writing in primary school, children are expected to learn to write according to the rules of standard English. English become a mandatory foreign language subject in non-English speaking countries, and the lesson taught are from native speaker or standard English. Therefore, we should learn from the correct principle first. And of course, if you study with native teacher, you will get both the right principle and a good accent. If we talk about the standard English, don't forget about the test. Today, I will talk about IELTS and TOEFL test because it is the standard of the exam for applying for a job or applying for various courses. IELTS and TOEFL test will be divided into 4 parts: speaking, listening, reading, and writing. Listening part will use a native speaker accent, and in part of speaking, TOEFL will have to answer questions on the computer. But IELTS, you have to speak directly to foreign judges. The talk being with an introduction, answer question based on picture or topics that the judges said, and end up discussing controversial topics. And I think if the teacher is a native speaker, it will be better than non-native teacher because students will get used to the accent of native speaker. A native teacher will be able to teach the pronunciation clearly. Thank you. So thank you, the first speaker from the preposition team. Next, turn off Miss Koshagon as the first speaker in the opposition team. Please welcome.
Currently, the Crashul model can no longer be referenced as it date from 1985. Over the past few years, many linguistic scholars have pointed to the limitation of Crashul's idea, arguing that the idea is adhering to geography and history too much. According to the website of the Association of Private Schools for English Program, English has now changed its status to international language because the use of English is widespread throughout the world. It is not limited to a group of native speakers only. This is due to the important role of English in connecting society, culture, education, and the economy among the world's non-native languages at the Lingua Franca, Kristen 2003. For the matter of pronunciation, non-native can speak with a native accent, both pronunciation and accent. For example, nowadays there are people of different nationalities using English to communicate in a global context, thus making a variety of English. From research and study on the method of teaching pronunciation in the area when English has become an international language of Dr. Jennifer, lecturer in social linguistics and phonology from England. Certain aspects of pronunciation do not affect the meaning. And another important, when native speakers also have different accents according to each language region, such as British English, Australian English, and American English. Therefore, it is not uncommon for non-native learners to have a variety of accents. Finally, students should have the opportunity to hear a variety of English accents, not limited of native speakers, because in an area where English is an international language, being familiar with different accents will make it easier for learners to listen and understand different accents. In the end, Dr. Jennifer said that today English has become an international language and is not reserved for native speakers only. Pronunciation learning can no longer be restricted to American or British accent. Thank you.
So thank you, the first speaker from the opposition team. Next is Ms. Penapap as the second speaker in the proposition team. Please welcome.
As you said, non-native can speak with a native accent. This so you mean non-native study with native teacher, right? So native teacher will have benefit more than non-native teacher. According to Deshara 2019 says, Edward T. Howe, who had been dubbed as the father of intercultural communication, he said that communication with a culture is imperative to learn the language and culture constantly. And above all, you can see that learners must understand the cultural style language of the study. The important thing is slang. From the Cambridge Dictionary have given the meaning of slang is vocabulary that is used between people who belong to the same social group and who know each other well. Slang is very formal language. It can often people if it's used about other people or outside a group of people who know each other well. We usually use slang in speaking rather than writing. Slang normally refers to particular words and meaning, but can include longer expression and idiom. If we study with native speakers, we can use an advanced and professional same as native speaker. Also, they understand learner meaning. Also, they understand meaning clearly. At the same time, teachers must also teach their culture to learners for effective teaching. If the learner use the wrong language, they will have a better chance than learning with non-native speaker. By the way, what a native speaker has is punctuality, which is one of the culture of native speaker. They are always on time. It's making them reliable. And most of our native speakers don't use supporter at work. From Transparency International ranked from 180 countries around the world. To measure the level of corruption, Corruption Perception Index showed that in 2020, New Zealand is the world's first most transparent country. From the result, it will see that the country in the inner circle rank higher than non-native speaker and above that non-native speaker lead role. What I said earlier, you can see that the native English speaker teacher had high quality because they are in the inner circle. It is a country with less corruption and it make native speaker reliable and they therefore should the high a native speaker. So native English speaker teacher impossible to get a brief. Thank you.
Thank you. The second speaker from the proposition team. Now it's turn of the opposition team, Miss Pawadi. As the second speaker, please welcome.
Yeah, I agree that some parts you say are true, but I think the culture and background of teachers is unnecessary to teach English effectively. The students can learn about the culture of the people in inner circle by themselves, through books or YouTube and so on, and they also can learn by their own language to make them understand clearly. Richard D. 2010 investigate university students and EFL teachers. They agree that English teachers' native background is not related to the quality of their teaching. The importance of teaching is their education and pedagogical characteristics. And according to Teaching English to Speakers of the Other Languages, or TESOL 2006, say teaching skill, teaching experience, and personal relation should be given as much weight as language proficiency. And Peter Magid say non-native English-speaking teachers are more cognizant of the content of the national curriculum, the teaching material available, and the examination to be taken. They are also better able to get the level of motivation that students studying in particular type of school are supposed to have. From all the research I just told, I can tell that non-native English-speaking teachers can teach effectively and also make the students achieve the achievement. Next, about punctuality and corruption, you said, I think is about personal habits and concise. Many non-native English-speaking teachers are punctual and not corrupt. Nothing can confirm that non-native English-speaking teachers are people who are unpunctual and corrupt. So what that you say earlier is not true. And about slang, this native English-speaking teacher confident that the slang that they teach students understand it clearly. Some students might misunderstand the meaning and some slang words are hard to explain what the meaning is. But if non-native speaking teachers who are functional in English, they can explain clear meaning to students and make the student understand more than native speaking teachers. Non-native speaking teachers are also know about slang words in their country, so they can use that slang to describe English slang. It makes students understanding. Thank you.
So thank you, the second speaker from the opposition team. Let's move to the proposition team. Ms. Apisamai as the third speaker. Please welcome.
The second speaker says that English teacher native background is not related to the quality of their teaching. I disagree because I have studied other research results. According to Coleman's study 1997, having the major goal of speaking like a native speaker is another factor that possibly contributes to promoting learner motivation motivation. A large number of students who have a high level of achievement motivation may learn and practice as hard as they can to achieve the goal of sounding like a native speaker. That student motivation can be derived from learning from native teacher. On the other hand, some students may find learning with non-native teacher more interesting because they perceive that non-native teacher to be capable of teaching English grammar and difficult vocabulary. Students who strongly believe that their knowledge is centrally grammar and vocabulary may have motivation to learn with non-native teacher. In addition, corrective feedback from native and non-native teacher appear to have a role to play in encouraging student learning motivation. Therefore, they may provide more implicit corrective feedback to students in the oral classroom. Implicit corrective feedback such as requests appear to stimulate students to have more motivation in taking part in classroom events. Students especially in ASEAN countries may be very shy to speak English because they are afraid of making mistakes. If their teacher provides appropriate corrective feedback to them, they will not feel embarrassed and try to engage actively in activity. The more students take part in activity, the more students have a chance to practice and learn. It seems to be true that motivation can come from teacher appropriate feedback. However, it is not always true that native teachers seem to create more learner motivation. Non-native teachers possibly promote student motivation in learning as well, since it depends on teacher individual characteristics and teaching style.
So thank you, the third speaker from the preposition team. And now it's turn of the opposition team. Ms. Busakarin as the third speaker, please welcome.
The ideal non-native English speaker teacher is the one who has achieved their native proficiency in English. Our and Meti 2000 and Barat and Contra 2002, Sain Mus and Roda 2008 confirm that a unique advantage non-native English speaker teacher have over native English speaker teacher is that they can empathize very well with their student learning difficulty and understand what is to be homesick and experience culture shock. Native English speaker teachers are also admired by their students because they are successful role models and are often very motivated English as an international language. It may even be claimed that many native English speakers are more communicative, efficient speakers of English in international context. While native English speaker teachers have a flexible teaching method that emphasize creativity and create a friendly atmosphere, but non-native English speaker teachers tend to teach listen accordingly, be careful in providing information, and more rigorous in teaching time. The obvious advantage of non-native teacher is to have understanding more empathy for students as a language learner as well. Such behavior makes learners feel more comfortable when studying with non-native teachers. A study by Ben and Meti 2005 reaffirmed that advantage of non-native English speaker teacher as teaching and explaining the grammar through a more structured approach can provide a more true exam preparation and stand a better chance of detecting cheat, and most importantly are sincerely aimed at their jobs by assigning a lot of homework, planning their lesson, and checking for error constantly. Language awareness involves explicit knowledge about the language, which does not necessarily assume near native language proficiency. Naturally, non-native English speaker teachers are also refining their language awareness. They can improve provided they avoid themselves of the opportunity offered by teacher education, foreign language learning, and above all experience. Those non-native English speaker teachers who have spent an extended period of time in a host country and have taken pains to learn the student mother tongue should be incomparably more knowledgeable than those who have not.
Thank you, the third speaker from the opposition team. Now let's meet Ms. Ramida, the reply speaker from the opposition team. Please welcome.
After listening to all of the propositions and oppositions, I still agree that the non-native English speaking teacher is effective teaching. For this one, the difference of accents will make it easier for learners to listen and understand different accents. It can also identify the speaker for where they are from. Many people in this country believe that you should have an accent like a native speaker when you are speaking to guarantee that you can speak English effectively. I can say that is wrong. The local accent which is different is the one that can show your identity. At Jenkins 2011, Friedrich 2000 and McKinsey 2008 have discussed produced accents are the most noticeable feature in spoken language that reflects speakers' mother tongues, identities, and cultures. Also, you cannot say that a non-native English-speaking teacher's accent or pronunciation will make an ineffective instruction as long as the certain aspects of pronunciation do not affect the meaning. Moreover, it has an advantage that can show your identity too. It's about the pronunciation and accent that I think is a good point of non-native English speaking teacher. And I don't want to say that the standard of English is not important. Of course, it's important. It's true, like you said, we should learn from the correct principles first, but non-native English-speaking teachers can also be the correct principle as English as an international language or EIL, which is focusing more on the implications for society and language education in particular. Moreover, from the previous opposition, according to Benke and Medis 2005, reaffirms the advantages of non-native English-speaking teachers as teaching and expanding the grammar through a more structural approach. It can support the opinion that non-native English-speaking teacher can also be the correct principle for learning English. So why is learning with a non-native English-speaking teacher not effective when they also have an accurate cognition?
Thank you, the reply speaker from the opposition team. Now the last one from proposition team, Ms. Tidarat as the reply speaker. Please welcome.
After listening to the opposition talk about the reason for hiring a non-native speaker as a teacher, that sounds interesting, but do not forget that standard English is important because examination English proficiency can further study abroad and can send work-related material. In fact, non-native speaker can pronounce words clearly and only native speaker. So I what I'm looking for it. The opposition referred to theory of as Jenkins, Friedrich, and McKenzie have discussed. Produced accent are the most noticeable feature in spoken language that reflect speaker mother tongue, identity, and culture. But in fact, the reflect speaker mother tongue, identity, and culture is really important for teaching because finally studying English for exam or work is a measure using the standard English anyway. English become a mandatory foreign language subject in non-English speaking country, and the selection taught are from native speaker or standard English. Why we should learn from the correct principle first. Intercultural, you can learn by yourself. But would it be better if learned from a native speaker who has a real experience? Opposition said that students read from native speaker teaching. This may be happening with some students, but not all students. For example, I often know word when talk with native speaker, but when spoken or seen more often, it brings familiarity, the courage to speak, and makes speaking more fluent as well. Another example is teaching Chinese. It can be seen that Chinese teachers teach effectively native speaker of English as well. Many issues were discussed there, whether it's about English standard, culture, and student performance. It can be said that the use of native speaker in teaching, there are many advantages. Try to think about that. If studying with non-native speaker is really good, why do some non-native teachers still study with native speaker? Why is it that the tutoring center still advertise that students should learn with native speaker and popular as well? Thank you.
Thank you, the reply speaker from the preposition team. So, as you can see in our debate, native teacher and non-native teacher have different strengths and weakness. And what do you think about learning English with native teacher or non-native teacher? Which one is better? For me, I think the most important thing is the intention to learn English. No matter who you study with, if the learner has the intention, teaching will be effective. Thank you.